All right, let's dive in. Today we're getting our hands dirty with a project that's both super practical and, honestly, pretty cool. Building your very own solar-powered electric fence. We're going to break the whole thing down, step by step, so you can build a reliable, totally off-grid security fence all by yourself. Ready? Let's do this.
So, ever thought about building your own security fence? Maybe you need to secure your property, protect that amazing garden you've been working on from critters, or even keep livestock in check. And the best part? Doing it all without digging trenches for power lines or watching your electricity bill creep up. If that sounds good, you are definitely in the right place.
Okay, so like with any great project, it all starts with a solid plan. Our first phase here is Mulai Rancang Insidia, which basically just means start, plan, and prepare. Trust me, getting this part right from the get-go is going to save you so many headaches down the road.
So where do we even begin? Well, it boils down to 3 really important first steps. First up, map your site. I mean, literally, walk the perimeter where you want the fence. Get your measurements, figure out how many lines of wire you're going to need. Step 2, prepare the ground. This is key. You've got to clear that whole fence path of any weeds, big rocks, or branches. Anything that could touch the wire and short out the fence. And then, step 3, once you've got your plan, it's time to go shopping and gather all your materials. All right, let's talk about that shopping list. You can pretty much split it into 2 big categories. First, you've got the actual fence stuff, right? The posts, that'll be your structure, the footings to keep them steady, and the insulators. These are super important for making sure the electricity stays on the wire. And of course, the conductor cable itself. Then, you've got the brains of the operation, the power system. That means your solar panel to catch the sunlight, a 12-volt battery to store that power, a solar charge controller, which is crucial for protecting your battery from getting fried, and finally, the charger unit, or energizer, which is the little box that actually creates that high-voltage zap. Okay, you've got all your gear. Now we get to the fun part. We're moving on to Section 2, Bina, Tiang, and Cable, or in other words, build, posts, and cables. This is where things really start to take shape. So, that plan you had on paper, it's about to become a real thing in your yard. You're going to start by getting those fence posts in the ground, making sure they're nice and secure. Then, you'll pop an insulator onto every single post. Again, you cannot skip this. These little things are what keep the live wire from touching the post and losing all its juice. Finally, you get to run the wire, threading that conductor cable through each insulator. You'll want to pull it nice and taut to create a solid, straight barrier. And just like that, the fence structure is built. That's a huge step, seriously. But right now, it's just a bunch of posts and wires. It's not electric yet. So it's time for Section 3, Guasa, Solar, and Battery, which is all about power, solar, and battery. Let's give this thing some kick.
Getting the power flowing is actually a pretty simple 4-step deal. First things first, just take a second to make sure your solar panel and your battery are actually compatible, that they play nice together. Next, you'll run the cables from the panel down to your charge controller. Then, you connect that controller to the battery, and last but definitely not least, and you really can't skip this one, you set up your grounding system. It's absolutely essential for safety and for the fence to even work.
So let's zoom in on that grounding system for a second, this system Pumbumian, because honestly, it's the secret sauce here. Think about it. When an animal touches the fence, that electric pulse has to go somewhere, right? It travels through them into the ground. The grounding system is what completes that circuit, bringing the pulse back to the charger. Without a good ground, the circuit is broken, and a broken circuit means no shock. Your fence is basically just a street.
So how can you be sure your grounding is actually any good? Simple, you test it. Grab a multimeter, and what you're looking for is a resistance reading of less than 10 ohms. Now, ohms just measure electrical resistance, so a really low number, like under 10, means you've got a fantastic connection to the earth. The electricity can flow easily. If you see that number, you know your fence is ready to do its job perfectly.
All right, let's recap. We've built the fence. We've hooked up the power. We've double-checked our grounding. You know what that means? It's time for the final section. Uji system berfungsi. Or, my favorite part, test system works. Okay, before we flip that switch, hang on. Let's just take one last look. Is the solar panel wired to the charge controller correctly? Is the controller hooked up to the battery? Is the energizer unit connected to both the fence wire and those grounding rods? Seriously, a quick double check right now can save you a whole lot of head scratching later. Everything's checked and double checked. Perfect. It's time for the moment of truth. Let's power it on.
This is where all that hard work, the planning, the digging, the wiring, finally pays off. Let's bring this system to life.
And there it is. You did it. By following these steps, making all the right connections, and seeing that successful test, you've officially built a fully working, totally self-sufficient, solar-powered fence. That is a seriously cool DIY accomplishment.
So look, now that you've literally harnessed the power of the sun to build a security system from the ground up, you've got a whole new set of skills. Pretty powerful stuff, right? So really, the only question left is, what's your next solar project gonna be?